The next topic is sign language. It is considered as true language without speech. Sign language is a language that uses the conventional system of manual, facial, and other body movements as the means of communication. The real research on sign language started in 1960s, and it is considered as a true language because it arises from a real need of communicating with deaf people. And it's a true language also in this regard that it follows specific linguistic structure. We have the alphabets to form words as far as creating a sign language. Then those words are there to form sentences. So the sign languages, they are not just random languages. They follow complete set of linguistic rules to form words as well as sentences as spoken languages do. The speed at which a signer produces a sentence is similar to that of a spoken person who produces a sentence or an utterance. Sometimes the signer exceeds the speed. So these are certain things which make the sign language a true language. It is used for facilitating communication among deaf people or severely dysfunctional non-verbal people in the world. So in terms of comparison that we have, where we can see that they are compared to language based on sign. Now we see that signing involves light and speech involves sound. But a particular physical mode is not an essential aspect of language. So signing involves light and speech involves sound, but also a particular physical mode is not an essential aspect of language. Of course, language must depend on some physical mode for its use and learning, but the mode need not be limited to sound only. The mode can be visual, as in signing, or even touch, as in the languages used by deaf and blind. So, complete and incomplete sign language. Research on sign language, as we see, started in 1960, and the findings show, number of the studies that were conducted, that signers of such language such as American, French, or British language, these languages are considered as complete sign languages because they have complete linguistic rules that facilitate the communication. Now, these can indeed communicate sign language, whatever is expressed in speech. A sentence like that shown in any scenario can also be expressed through all these languages. Other sign language may be incomplete syntactically or limited in terms of vocabulary. Such incomplete sign languages are typically found in developing countries, although in even some developing nations, sign language may suffer from deficiencies. So the complete languages are the British Sign Languages, American Sign Languages, and French Sign Languages because they provide complete set of rules. And you have the incomplete sign languages which we see in the developing countries. Then we have speed of signing and speaking sentence. It is comparable. It can be similar. The speed at which a signer produces a sentence is similar to that of a spoken language. It can be very fluent. The speed, not only the speed, but also the meaning that we conveyed through that speed is also understood. Now, in this particular point, we see that there may even be strong dialect differences within a language from region to region within a country. We have seen that sometimes a signer from Paris, for example, with regard to French language, have difficulty in understanding signers from Lyon and vice versa. So it is surprising too that American Sign Language, British Sign Language are not mutually intelligible. American Sign Language actually has more in common with French Sign Language than the British Sign Language, because American Sign Language was derived from French Sign Language early in the 19th century. British Sign Language had its beginning before the 17th century, with the first deaf school opening in Britain in the late 18th century. Then, in addition to dialect and foreign accent in sign language, we have gestures of hearing people, are sign, but do not form a language. So, gestures of hearing people are signs and they do not form complete language. Now, before considering the essential of sign language, it is useful to examine the related means of communication. And the gestures that we use, they do not form a language, but they are the signs. They can be arms, head, torso. We use gestures to communicate a variety of types of messages, for example, in indicating greeting, hello, goodbye, by moving hands. So, we will also look at some of the signs with regard to the gestural movements now. So, gestures of hearing people are signs, and as we can say that they do not form language, and they can be facial gestures and gestures with speech. So, let's see some of the gestures that we have here. Now, if you look at them, these gestures are sign languages. When, where, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Friday, why, how, what, who. So, these are the sign language vocabulary. So, to conclude, a sign language is true language because the language system allows a signer to comprehend and produce an indefinitely large grammatical sentences in signs. This can be accomplished with limited number of signs, vocabulary and system, which is syntax and semantics.